we've been working on the cabinet outside, getting it ready, but now we have to work on the jamb. So this jamb is set up just like a normal door. We've got a 2x4 stud under here, and then we've got our door jamb around it just to give us a finished look. But we need to add hinges. So what we're going to do is we're going to use these gate hinges and set them equidistant from either end, about 12 inches on center, so we can transfer the load from the bookshelf to the door jamb. And we use one of these hinges because the door jamb is quite heavy, and this has a wide spread of screws that we can transfer that load back into the 2x4 behind the jamb. I don't want to trust the jamb for structural integrity, so I'm going to suck it all the way down to the 2x4. But we don't want this hinge to sit too proud on this jamb, so what we're going to do is we're going to route it out and recess it so that we're not sticking out too far, and that's going to mess up our pivot point for our bookshelf. Alright? So we're going to go ahead and do that now. I've already preset my router, so it's slightly thicker, maybe a 32nd of an inch thicker than my hinge. So we're going to use that depth to cut out our outline. I don't know if you can see this outline, but we prescribed where the hinges are supposed to go. So here we go. I got a little trim router, depth preset with a square cut router bit. There we go. We just got to clean that up a little bit, but our hinge would inset right in there. Alright, so we got our bookshelf ready, we got the wheels on the bottom, and we are going to install our gate hinges. Again, we're using these hinges because the transfer load of the screw pattern is going to transfer into the wall stud of our door jamb rather than just going through the door jamb. See, if we had it this way, we're really close to the edge, and I don't want all that weight of this bookshelf door to split the wood and start pulling out over time. Even though we have wheels to support it on the bottom, over time maybe the floor's not that level or this jamb's not perfectly square. I want the load transfer on these hinges to be as far into the jamb as possible. Another thing we're going to do that's slightly unique is if I put the door hinge this way, well, my fulcrum is going to protrude into my bookshelf. I can't afford the space on that. I'd have to dig out a groove that's about as thick as my wall thickness on my bookshelf, and that can't happen. So what I'm gonna do is flip it upside down to where the hinge fulcrum is away from my bookshelf. But that leaves me a problem because the back of my screw holes are not beveled. So I went ahead and added my own bevel to it so that when I set my screws in, transferring through the door jamb, they're going to sit flush on this side. So I'm able to recess the screws slightly because they're supposed to sit below the surface so that I have a nice seat for the cone head of this screw. So anyway, I am going to pre-pilot this at the same time so I don't have splitting in my door jamb. So I've got a little pilot drill bit here. I'm going to set up my hinge, and then I'm going to just drill through mostly the door jamb because these are self-guiding and self-tapping screws. So I'm going to just help it out a little bit without splitting the door jamb. Now I'm going to place the large side of this jamb up on the wall on my door jamb first. And then I'm going to slide my bookshelf in place, and since my bookshelf protrudes past my wall surface, I'm going to be able to secure this side of the jamb directly into the sideboards of my bookshelf. So I'm going to mount that after the fact once I get my alignment to my front jamb and get the bookshelf squared up in this door opening. So first I'm going to mount it here, then align it after the fact. So we're now on the outside of where the bookshelf is going to be, and it's going to be flush with this door jamb because I'm going to actually use some really heavy duty trim to be my striker plate or my door stop. So when I close it, it's going to stop against the trim. So I'm going to get some really heavy duty stuff. So in order to make it flush, I'm going to put some temporary braces and I'm going to brad them in just to hold it in place while I work on mounting it from the back side. So I've got a little brad gun here. I'm going to use some lightweight 1.25" brads and shoot my braces in place, and I should be able to just take them off right after that. Alright, pretty secure. I'm going to do one at the bottom. Just make sure I'm plumb. Okay, that should be secure enough to keep me flush with the outside of the jamb. And now we're going to go back inside and mount the cabinet in place. Okay, here we are, back on the inside of the office. We've got our flush brace on the outside to help us line up where the bookshelf is going to be. And now we're going to mount our bookshelf. We're going to mount our bookshelf to the outside of these hinges here. So we're going to mount it here, and the hinge is going to fulcrum from here out. And we're going to be able to line it up. So again, I have some shims here, so I can brace it against my striker side and push it tightly against my butt side, because I need at least a 5/8 inch gap to clear on the fulcrum. So my fulcrum is back here at my hinges, and I need an extra 5/8 of an inch gap on this side, so when I open the door on the diagonal, it's still going to clear my striker side jamb. Alright? So I'm going to go ahead and put the door in place real quick. Alright, I want to make sure I am flush with my flush guides on the other side, and I need to make sure I'm tied up against my butt. So I'm going to throw in a couple of shims here. Again, I need about 5/8 of an inch. So I need to shove that through and make it work. Okay, we're all set. Now I had to get some special screws for this, because the hinge hardware that typically comes with doors has some really good screws, but they're 1 inch long. And if I've shot 1 inch long screw through the sideboard of my bookshelf, it's going to protrude through the other side, even with the thickness of the hinge. Because the hinge has the countersink in there, well, the screw can recess almost all the way through, and it would actually punch through the inside wall of my bookshelf. So I got some 3/4 inch screws, and they're good for general construction use. So these are perfect for what I need them for, and I need about 4 of them per hinge. There we go. Locked in place. Opens nice and smooth. Now we got to figure out how we're going to put the latch mechanism and be able to open the door from the inside and out, but also think about how we're going to cover that mechanism on the inside so we can open it either with pulling a book or opening a contraption and putting a little knob in there. So that's it for right now, and stay tuned for how we mount the latch.